Are you sure you want to go to Iran? I got this question a lot in the weeks leading up to our trip. Like anyone who has traveled to places known for Christian persecution, I got some looks when I told others where I was going. But that's not really surprising. What was surprising, though, were the first words I heard when I arrived in Iran from the customs officer. He asked, almost in disbelief,
"Why are you here?"
If you're a Christian, the answer to that question will shape your life. It might change the way you look at money, the things you spend time and energy on. It might change the way you look at the person you could potentially marry. It might take you to places you never imagined you'd go to. It might even take you to a mosque. Not all mosques are the same, but they're all fascinating architectural wonders, and they're the center of religious life for Muslims. For devout Muslims, daily life revolves around prayer. They pray 5 times a day, and mosques are built as centers of worship and prayer. Before they pray, they perform a ritual cleansing at a fountain in the courtyard. Then men and women separate into 2 different rooms and pray in rows behind the imam, or the leader of the congregational prayers, who stands on the minbar, which is like a pulpit. This all involves standing, bowing, and sitting on prayer mats, all an act of submission to Allah. So when Muslims pray, they're supposed to be pointing towards Mecca, the city where it's believed Muhammad received visions from Allah. And we see this in the architecture of mosques because they have a mihrab, or a niche in the wall that indicates the direction of Mecca. There's even a tower called a minaret where the call to prayer is announced. Plus, you've probably also noticed most mosques have a dome, and that's because it represents the vault of heaven. So much of the physical building has representative elements of their faith, so you won't see the same type of iconography or art that you'd see in a Catholic church or a Gothic cathedral. You know, I've been to a lot of mosques outside of Iran. Many of them are huge, beautiful buildings that attract thousands of visitors. As soon as I got to Iran, I visited mosque after mosque of different shapes and sizes. But there were no tourists here. No one taking selfies, just hundreds and even thousands of Muslims praying to Allah. There are places on this earth where the atmosphere of spiritual warfare is palpable. You can feel the enemy. And we realized the danger of visiting this place. Just getting these shots required us to use small, hidden cameras. And yet, this is just a small taste of what Christians in Iran face every day. There are no church buildings. There's no freedom to worship Jesus openly. To follow Jesus means to live in enemy territory. So if you ask me why I went to Iran, I went to understand the struggles of my brothers and sisters and what life under persecution looks and feels like. Ultimately, I came to find the answer to the question, what does the church look like in a nation of mosques? In spite of travel advisories, tourism in Iran is a growing economy, and it's consistently gone up over the years. In 2019, right before the pandemic, Iran was visited by 9.1 million tourists, about 2 million more than the year before. That makes Iran the 4th most visited nation in the Middle East, only behind Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. And there's a lot to see. For any Bible nerds out there, you can visit Esther and Mordecai's tombs. Or you can go to the Golestan Palace or Persepolis and see traces of ancient history, stories of leaders and empires from thousands of years ago. Or you could visit Tehran's Grand Bazaar, a marketplace filled with everything that's been there for hundreds of years. Or you could race down a roller coaster on Mount Tohar. There is so much to see in Iran, but no matter where you go, one thing you can't escape is that it's the Islamic Republic of Iran. Islam is everywhere. There are pictures of the Ayatollah everywhere. Our hotel didn't have Gideon Bibles in the drawers. They had Qurans and prayer mats and an arrow on the ceiling pointing you to Mecca. As we were exploring Tehran, our guide would stop several times throughout the day at different mosques to do his prayers. And it all got me wondering, in a country that is so dominated by Islam, how would anyone even hear about Jesus? Tell me a little bit about your story. How did you come to know Jesus? And just what was that journey like?
I was born in a Muslim Shia family.
This is Iman. He spent almost a decade as a refugee in Turkey after needing to flee Iran because of his faith.
Unfortunately, Muslims, they believe that they are Jew and Christian, they are not clean, and they call them najis. It means that you cannot touch them, because if you touch these people, you will be unclean. But my father, the way they teaching us, they said, no, you shouldn't think in that way. I remember it was Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the fasting, all the Jew fasting from one day, 24 hours on. That night, I remember my very good friend, he told me, Iman, if we are believed to every single, we're doing all of the single law in the Sharia, in the 10 Commandments, but we are not believed to the Mashiach or the Messiah to come, we are not even Jew. And then it was in my mind, it's about 1 year after, there was a church, and they was talking about Jesus. And they said, Jesus is the Christ, and he's a Messiah. When I heard that, I was all of my attention came, and I listening to them. And they had the one number. They said, if you want New Testament, send us an email. And then I sent an email to them, can I have a New Testament?
Iman received a copy of the New Testament and he couldn't put it down. Because of both his Muslim background and his Jewish friends, he was already a little familiar with Old Testament stories. But this New Testament gave him the true interpretation of who Christ was.
And after that, I went to my friend, he's a Jewish, and I said, I heard this Jesus is the son of the God, and he's a Messiah, you're looking for it. And my friend said, no, Jesus was a lawyer, and he said many, many bad things about Jesus. I was shocked because I really trust them, you know.
You're Jewish?
The Jewish friend, yes. One night I was feeling so bad, and I keep reading my New Testament. I know I'm a sinner. I know I have no way to be getting salvation. I know that, you know. But when I'm reading the New Testament, my heart is gonna be full of the joy of the God. It's the first time I pray that God, if you are the Son of the God, please save me, please help me. The minute I pray that, I finish, I feel like everything, like atmosphere for my room is changed. And I feel like the presence of the God. I heard the voice, I said, Iman, follow me, I want to change your life. And I was just looking back at my back, I see the light and I see the Jesus. And he showed his hand to me, said, Iman, I die for you, follow me, I want to change your life. That I start to cry.
Government numbers will identify 99% of the population as Muslim. Not really surprising when everyone is automatically assigned Islam as a religion at birth. But the reality is that number is much lower. Some reports even have it under 50%. I touched on this in a previous video, but an Islamic government that imposes Islam on its people does not equal a truly Islamic people. And when that government continues to let down and even oppress its own people, you can understand how many Iranians would be dissatisfied and disillusioned with Islam as a whole. But what's most encouraging is not necessarily Islam's decline, but rather how much Christianity has grown. Because even though many Iranians were let down by Islam, it didn't mean they stopped looking for answers.
In my country, Iran, when I grew up, all the things you can do is used to belong to the mosque. So if you want to play ping pong or football, soccer, football,
Yeah, we know the real football.
Yes, the real football, exactly. So you should go to mosque. So I was in the mosque almost every day, and people were praying, doing the Islamic namaz and everything, and the mullahs were there. So I always had questions.
This is Milad. He left Iran years ago after facing relentless persecution. He told me about how he would often go to the mullah, or religious leader of his community, to try to understand the Quran.
I always had questions. So once I asked one of them, what does this verse means in Quran? And that man told me, we don't know. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, this is a secret between the prophet and God. So I was like, I'm hearing you telling all these people that this book is given to guide us. So why do we need to have some secret between the prophet and God in the book, which is role is to guide us in life, and we don't know the meanings?
Imagine seeking the truth only to be told God was keeping secrets. What a disappointment. But in God's good grace, there is something in Persian culture that just drives them to keep pressing on, looking for answers. And in that search, many are finding Jesus.
وقتی که شروع کردم به قرآن و فارسی خوندن، برای من یک سری سوالات پیش اومد که تا حالا هیچ وقت بهش بر نخورده بودم، چون ما همیشه قرآن رو عربی میخوندیم. و این بودش که توی قرآن نوشته بودش که تنها کسی که روح القدس رو داشت عیسی مسیح بود. تنها کسی که قراره بیاد دنیا رو داوری کنه عیسی مسیح بود. و همینجور که میخوندم سوالاتی برای من پیش میومد که هیچ جوابی براش نبود. و وقتی که از پدرم میپرسیدم گفت این سوالات رو ما نمیدونیم، یه سری از علما میدونن. و من انقدر ترسیده بودم که اگه میگفتن اگه همینجور قرآن رو بخونم، منم خودم دیگه مسلمان بودن خودم از دست میدم و اونو گذاشتم کنار.
For security reasons, I can't say much about her. But her story is one of many of Persians searching for answers.
یک روزی به این نتیجه، یعنی کم کم خدا به من نشون داد که اسلام یک چیز دروغینه، چون یه چیزی برای من پیش اومد که محمد یه پیامبری که اومده مرده، ولی اسلام میگه که عیسی زنده است و قراره بیاد. و برای من سوال این بود، اگر عیسی زنده است و قراره بیاد دنیا داوری کنه، چرا خدا بعدش یه پیامبری میفرسته که میمیره و نمیتونه هیچ کاری برای من انجامش بده؟ وقتی انجیلی که باز کردم بخونم، یک لحظه به معنی نام عیسی که معنی نجات دهنده است پی بردم. یعنی هفته بعدش که رفتم کلیسا قلبم به عیسی مسیح دادم.
Remember Nima? He came out in the first episode of this series. He knows a thing or two about reaching Iran.
In the West, you can just get on a radio or TV or just do, public ministry. In Iran, it's different. You have to work out your strategies. Like we're going for shopping. Again, we don't need to shop, but we're going pretending to be shoppers and talking to the salespersons, because again, those are the ones who are actually meeting so many people on a daily basis. But again, there are lots of challenges.
The 1 year, God connect me with some of the other people, like 4 or 5 people. They came to faith, and we had just one New Testament. We are weekly.
The one you got, you would share with your other 5 friends.
Yes. Sometimes we doing the printing them, and they giving to them to read it. And we going somewhere like a mountain, and we start to pray for that city. And then we walk into a street, and we are just pray for that city, And if we had some opportunity to share the gospel to them.
At one instance, I remember we were talking to the guy, and then he said, okay, let me call my friend to come and hear. We realized he's actually calling the police. So still is dangerous. But I hear some people are doing bus evangelism. It's a bit risky, but when they're getting off, they just get up and say, Jesus is the Savior, and then leave some Bibles and just take off.
And God, after 3 years, one time we came together, we just thinking, we were just working, and then we just recognized that we are almost 300 people.
Wow.
Yes.
Just from one-on-one sharing the gospel through conversation. I was walking through the courtyard of the Ibn Bavia cemetery, the same one where Takhti is buried, and I came across a funeral service taking place. This is a historic site where technically you're not allowed to bury people anymore, but many still do. Funerals can mark some of the most somber and dark moments of our lives, and as most Christians have experienced, it's one of those occasions where we're especially thankful to have a church family. We're supposed to come alongside those experiencing loss, right? Weep with those who weep. And it's a time when your pastor or other members of your church join you to pray or share a word from scripture, counsel family members. But all of it got me thinking, what happens when a Christian in Iran dies? Or if someone in your house church passes away? Or what about other significant moments in the lives of Christians, baptisms, weddings, maybe even just regular church? Where do you go?
About 25 years ago, we had buildings, but I think about 5-6 years ago, they shut down all the churches. So we had house group churches, everything is on the ground. Everything is house churches now. So Iranian churches now in Iran, they all house cells like China. So they meet in groups, the houses, they move around, meetings. They have to be really careful. Even though over the phone, they cannot be direct. They cannot call each other brothers and sisters. They have to be really, really careful in terms of gatherings, evangelism, singing songs, preaching. Everywhere in the society they go, they have to be mindful, especially when they are in close gatherings like family gatherings or any parties they go. They have to be careful when they talk about their personal beliefs, because you never know, maybe your brother, your parents, your family members will turn you in.
خب من هم کلیسای ساختمانی رفتم، هم کلیسای یعنی خانگی رفتم. کلیسای خانگی خب اینکه مشارکت از نزدیکه خیلی خوب بود، ولی خب ما نمیتونستیم هیچ وقت بلند پرستش کنیم و اینکه خب یه ذره اگه نکات مثبتش رو بگم، اینکه خب همین مشارکتی که با هم داشتیم، رابطه صمیمی که بینمون یعنی رابطه صمیمی که بین ما بود و اینکه خب کلیسای خانگی روی تعلیم دادن، روی اینکه تغذیه روحانی شدن خیلی برای ما مفید بود. تغذیه روحانی بیشتری شدیم، تونستیم بیشتر خدمت کنیم، یعنی خدماتی که توی کلیسای خانگی من داشتم.
What makes me sad nowadays is when people talk about church, they make it so complicated and professional sound. But where I grew up, it was a bunch of us, mostly young people, who became Christian, and the family deny them or they don't want to be around them. They come and join us.
Yeah.
We were like a family. We had food, we talk, we sing. I play the little guitar and we sing worship song, we eat food. We read the Bible and we try to understand. We ask the churches in Tehran and the more mature Christian brothers we know to help us to understand the scripture, and we grew up. So it was very raw and it was very close relationship-based kind of gathering. Although we did not have many things, we did not have so many people or big buildings, but what is the purpose of being church? Growing and help other people to know Christ, and I think we succeed on that.
Yeah. Was that something where you guys were meeting in secret?
Yes.
Was it difficult to communicate with other Christians? I mean, what did it look like? Like, how do you share the gospel? How do you do that when it's all, secretive?
Secret, yes, all in secret. We were all 007's agents. We know how to, took off the SIM cards from the phone, put it into the, somewhere safe, and always someone by the window is checking the outside, not singing with a loud voice, everything. But we know we are risking our life.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's the life that God is giving us, and it's worth to risk it to reach other
That's the
people.
point.
Yeah, that's the point.
One time when I was sharing the gospel, the government arrested me. I've been one night, they beat me, and one night I've been in the jail, and then bring me out. It's the first time they arrest me, and
Because you were evangelizing.
evangelist. And it was a Christmas. We make a small bag with it's a small book name is the just the way of the salvation. We printed with some chocolate, they put it in the bag, and we passed it out to people and said, Merry Christmas. And I arrived home at 3 a.m. and I see that someone knocked the door, and it was two big guy came and opened the door. And one of them had a camera, and the other one came and they put us and my family to the sitting in the chair, and then they came and they took everything, like my books and computer, everything, and they brought me to the jail. I've been 29 days in the one room. I didn't know it's a morning, in the night, or what is that?
They put you in a room where you didn't know what time it was.
They bring me to the court and they said, you are blamed as a spy for the Israel.
A spy for Israel.
And then making some groups against the government. And because in Iran we don't have the Christian like a punishment, it's we put you in the category of political mostly.
This is one aspect of the story that's worth exploring more, and we'll do so in the next video. The realities of modern society and belonging to organizations like the UN should technically move Iran to treat its citizens with a certain level of dignity and care that they're currently violating, particularly to minorities like Christians.
I was studying software engineering in university, and I was on my last semester when they arrested my father and everyone else. And then the school authority called me in the office and said, this is your last semester, finish it or not, we're not going to give you a certificate. And I think that's one of the many few things that the Islamic regime said, and they actually did what they said. They did not give me my certificate. So challenges from everywhere. My wife and I were running a computer shop. They come and close and shut it down every single morning. We would go to our office and it was shut down. It was like official paper on the door that you cannot open it. Come and pay a visit to this office and that office, and we went and spent the whole day. And by the end of the day, they were saying, oh, we're sorry, that was a mistake. It was not you, it was just something else. Oh, sorry. And then tomorrow, it was another department come and shut it down.
Seems like the government doesn't necessarily always want to put you in jail, but they want to make life impossible for you. So the story that I'm hearing over and over again from just different people I've had the opportunity to talk to is you lose your education, your access to education, you lose your access to your job, business, and you lose access to people around you, even just because of fear, because you don't want to put them in danger. Sure. Or maybe people don't even want to relate to you anymore because they're afraid that they'll also be persecuted in a similar way.
They were monitoring us wherever we go. I went to pay a visit to my uncle's house one day, which he was not, and he still needs a Christian believer. After like about an hour after we left, he called me and said, I do really love you, but stop coming to my house. Immediately after you left, people called and asked me question. What was he doing there? Was he talking about Christ? Was he trying to make you Christian? And he was like, he's just my brother's son, and he's just here, but I don't want this. I don't want them to call me.
There's a lot to wrap your mind around here. And I can't help but try to put myself in the shoes of Iranian believers. Imagine this for your own life. You're born into a culture that values asking questions and searching for truth, but at the same time, into a religion that you are forced to practice, and to reject it could mean losing your job, your family, your home, even your life. Following Jesus comes at a tremendous cost. There's no cultural or social advantage. It doesn't make life easier. But as we'll see in the next and final chapter of this series, following Jesus does make life, with all of its pains and sorrows, worth it.